Song Dynasty by Michaela Lillian Max. When did the Song Dynasty start and end? The Song Dynasty started at 960 and ended at 1279.
How did it start and end? How it started was that it started from the northern song and southern song. Their economy and radiance culture. How it was ended was that they were able to defeat the further Jurchen invasions.
Does your dynasty have a capital? Our dynasty has a capital. It is Taiping.
The map where the dynasty is located. This is where the Song Dynasty was located.
Who were the leaders? Our leaders were Taizu, Wade Gazelle, Zahu, Kayajin, and many more.
Timeline.
Research.
Levels of society. Here are each levels of each. Let me explain. The first level is the ruler. The ruler is the main person. They have the highest ranking. The second level is the scholar. The scholar is the people who could read and write, so they got to help the ruler and they were a part of the government. The third level is the farmers. The people who depended on the farmers to get them food, but the people were poor. The fourth level is craftsmen. They help with tools. They make the tools, such as utensils, weapons, and ornaments, etc. The last and final one is the merchants, who did not produce anything, but grew rich from trading goods. Their social classes. The social classes are gentry, peasants, and merchants. Let me explain all of these social classes. The gentry are wealthy landowners that study conventional ideas and their civil service. The peasants. Peasants are mostly Chinese. Most of the peasants are farmers and they work the land. They live in small villages. The last and final one are merchants. Some of them can become very rich. There is the lowest status than the peasants because riches come from other work. Some of them buy land, educate sons to become gentry. What did they eat? They would eat plain meat, brains, frogs, legs, pigs, knuckles, fish, maw, and other exotica. They liked them because they said that these unusual foods were served to the crown prince. What they wore for clothing. In the Song Dynasty, both men and women wore robes, and on the robes they had very long sleeves. But the people in the Song Dynasty liked to wear very nice clothing even if they were not rich. Did the Song Dynasty have a religion? The Song Dynasty did have a religion. It was Buddhism. They had another religion, and it was Daoism and revel of the Confucian. How the people of the Song Dynasty spent their days. The people of the Song Dynasty spent their days plowing. They also spent their days in the fields. There were managing their crops. What art/technology was used in the Song Dynasty everyday lives? The main technology that was used in the Song Dynasty was mobile type printing, so they could start writing. The Song Dynasty made was Chinese inkstone with gold and silver markings. Technology that was developed during the Song Dynasty. Technology that was developed during the Song Dynasty was mechanical gears during the time of the Song Dynasty. Also, the mobile typewriter. Our dynasty did do poetry, painting, and paintings. The paintings that our dynasty did, I will show you, but there's a lot. If you want to see more, I'll leave a link. So the first painting is a deeply anonymous painter of the Southern Song. The next painting is one of the 9 dragons by Chenrong. Now for the poetry. They did a lot of poetry. They spent most of their time doing it. The important thoughts in writing, etc. from the Song Dynasty are: the important thoughts in the Song Dynasty are that they did lots of writing and literature and art. They spent a long time on their writing. Also, our art was really popular in the Song Dynasty. The role of women and children in our society. Women were on a lower social tier than men. They enjoyed many social and legal privileges and had power at home and in their own small businesses. They were mainly noble and well educated. Women, and it's common practice for women to educate their sons during the earliest young. The role of men in our society. The men in our society would make good officials. How did the Song Dynasty about people outside of China? The people of the Song Dynasty, they had to fight against the other dynasties that were going to invade their dynasty, so they had to defend. How they felt about the people coming into their were angry with them. They didn't want them to come into their dynasty. How the different social classes participated in the government. How the different social classes participated in the government was that they had to help the main leader and bring what they needed.
Explain how their government was set up and how it worked. The Song dynasty was a technological and scientifically advanced, engaged in heavily in trade, and lasted about 300 years. They set a course for the culture of the whole region of East Asia. What made the culture the same from dynasty to dynasty was the Chinese emperors had a common written language for 2,000 years. No matter what their spoken language was, most educated people in all eras from the Han Dynasty to the end of the Qin Dynasty in 1912 needed to be able to read the ancient texts that date from the end of the Zhou Dynasty era and also write in a form of that written language. Explain the main political idea of the dynasty. The main political idea of the Song dynasty was to ensure that the officials understood a common political philosophy that emphasized submission to the emperor and one's superiors by following and maintaining the traditionally defined rules of life. This was an advantage in keeping unity order under the court and ensuring that the empire ran smoothly. Explain how and if the government helped the people. The government's leaders had a common political and philosophical ideas that were passed to the people, so the whole empire would have a common philosophy of life. Innovation and personal freedom was stifled. Explain who made the laws and how they were made. The court made the laws so that the officials understood a common political philosophy that required submission to the emperor and one's superiors. They made these laws by making leaders all study the same works. Explain if the laws were the same for all people. Yes, the laws promoted unity and normalization of behavior throughout the Song dynasty. Explain who carried out the laws. The emperor held the ultimate power and took charge of every affair in the nation. Explain how a new king or emperor came to power. Zaho's patron succeeded to the throne in 954 and fought to extend his way into the South China and to eliminate a rival who established the north and Shanks and supported by the Khitan Empire laid claim to the rule of China. Explain if the dynasty had any power outside of China. The economic power of the Song dynasty had a tremendous influence in many foreign economies. They did this by becoming leaders in the import and export industry. Overseas trade outside of China also brought the dynasty great fortune and economic growth. Explain if their dynasty unified or separated China. The Song Dynasty unified Song China, making it the richest and most populated country in the 10th and 11th centuries. Explain if nobles were used or some other form of sharing power. Nobles were used to ensure common ideas were passed to the people under them. Explain how other countries/people viewed this dynasty. This dynasty This dynasty's high level of education helped them formulate politics for trade with other countries and introducing new weapons such as rockets, gunpowder, and motors. Explain who had the power and what kind of government it was. The emperor and his scholars had the power. The Song Dynasty of feudal. The emperor and his scholars had the power. The Song Dynasty had a feudalistic government.
Main economic idea of the Song Dynasty. Their economy of the Song Dynasty was one of the most persuasive/advanced dynasties there was. Jobs that people had. One of the jobs was to farm. People bought and sold. What people bought and sold. They bought clothes and pottery. What and who they traded with. They traded clothes and other goods. They traded with Korea and Japan. Technology and inventions may have developed. They made a new way of water control to control where all the water goes. They also made a new type of irrigation system. Social class that existed in the Song Dynasty. The social class that existed in the genre is janitor, peasant, and merchant. Levels of society that people had more or less money. The top class would be the richest. Then it would go down. The reason it is like that because the ruler is on the top. Whether or not the social class determined the type of job someone had. It really did not, because you could have any job you want. Currency that your dynasty used. The Song Dynasty used money, but they also traded.